your discipline to the earthquake event. What I'm going to do is take you through a little fundamentals about using SpotOnResponse so that all of you can participate in the exercise next week. As I said, it's a mobile app for Android and Apple platforms, also available, as you see up on your screen, on a web platform. And it begins first with a concept, because we want you to set the use of this tool in your mind and how it applies to the mix between a central location like a command center or the physical clearinghouse and virtual operations. So we begin, because the application knows where you are, with the concept of an area of interest. Your area of interest shows up here on the map. You set that individually. It can be half a mile, it could be 50 miles, it could be the entire state of California. So everything is first filtered by terms of the area of interest. The second concept you want to see is an item of interest. All these things on the map are items of interest. These may be good things, like a parade going on, or a bad thing, like an earthquake. They might be a facility, like a school, or an ambulance going someplace. Items of interest, and you'll be able to learn more about what they are. And then the next part is, for an item of interest, you make an observation. This is really the feedback. You get lots of items of interest from other locations through the UICDS middleware, but what you're doing is providing observations. This is where you as a member will be able to add to the expertise and information that's available to all the other members of the clearinghouse. So area, items, and observations. In order to see all of those, there are a couple of other concepts. One of them are layers, the little map that you see there, and that's an indication of the icon up here in the upper left-hand corner, which is how you get to those layers. Layers of information you can turn on and off. Filters is the second concept, and that allows you to take information and segment it. Pull out everything on one day. Pull out everything that is a hospital or everything that has some fault structure related to it. So filters of information. And the last thing that we identify up on the map are teams. Individuals, everyone who enters into a location has their location and their awareness shared with everybody else. And here you see Ann Rosinski as the other team member up here, who is part of the play right now. So, with those concepts in place, let's take a look at a couple of operations. Here's some very specific things. If I am off looking someplace over here and I want to get back to my area of interest, I click the globe and it returns me to my area of interest. Things are changing all the time, and you'll see my screen blink occasionally. You can set that for a few seconds. We recommend 30 seconds or a minute. I've set mine for a few minutes here just so it's not distracting. But if you think something's going on and you want to know about it, you click this and refresh manually, and you get an update of everything that's there. Later on, when we're off of this screen on others, you'll see this arrow that gets you back to the previous screen. And up here is a logout that you see. In addition, a tools menu, and the tools get you a profile, which is where you are able to see all the information you enter when you log in, change your area of interest, and change that map, refresh, put in a new password should you need to. And then finally, set location is part of that tools menu, and we'll focus on that in more detail later. So operations support the concepts that we have. So let's start unfolding this with a little bit more detail. This area of interest map, we have it here, and one of the first things is, this is me. Tells me where I am all the time, so there's always the GPS location or where you have set your location as a place to be. Secondly, I mentioned that there are these pins and icons. When you click on any one of these pins, it gives you a little pop-up City Hall appears to be damaged. It's an infrastructure is the type of event, and some debris on the ground near the tower. Over here, we've got a fault rupture at the railroad. Somebody's seeing that. And here, that little ambulance icon, there's a hospital that has a potential collapse, Arrowhead Regional Hospital. Those are items of interest. Those items of interest as well appear down at the bottom. So rather than poking around on the map, you can go through. If you're an engineer, you have all these unreinforced masonry buildings that might interest you. If you're traffic, you've got a 0 mile per hour freeway sensor here. There's that hospital that we talked about earlier. So you can get to the information either from the map, when it's proximate to you, and from the list, depending on where you are and what you want to see. There's one other element here, and that is that because everyone knows, or all this information knows where you are, you're going to get a red color here that says these are the things that are close to you. And you'll notice that all these are segmented by distance from you, because the first law of geography is that everything is related to everything else. But nearer things are more related than far things. So you're going to have this area of interest that you're going to set, and all the items of interest are related, and when you're particularly close, you end up with a specific note there that there's lots of traffic stopped, no damage, and if it's a pin, it will turn red, and the bar will be red, and whether it's nighttime, the bar will always be red also. Another item, team members. Talked about that earlier. We still have Ann. Ann just jumped halfway through Los Angeles. Great move in that traffic today, huh? Team members, another feature of the map. And you have map and you have satellite. You can switch between this. This is just like a Google Maps. Go back to the map, add terrain onto it if you're out looking at terrain. And as well, we've got the Google Street Maps capability over here, so I'm going to come over there, and we have just gone to cross-rail line, and I can use that to further understand the location where I am. The X in the upper right-hand corner moves it. So you've got all these capabilities, and this is all, again, we're showing it here in sort of a tablet format, but it's all on your Android phone or tablet, iPad or iPhone. And one last point down here, this plus mark up here. That's how you can enter these items of interest. We'll take a look in a little bit about how you can get in, and you'll be entering these very specifically so that you can, from your location, begin to provide information back to other members of the clearinghouse about the operations that are going on. If at any point you have any questions, please just shout out. I can't see you raise your hand or can't see a perplexed look on your face, so feel free to jump in if you have a question. Anybody with any questions at this point? All right. Well, we've dealt with the area of interest and the items of interest. And now we're going to start to take a look at the details, because all you've seen are locations and a few words here. But each of these can have as much detail associated with it as you want. We can come to that ambulance, and we saw that that was the Arrowhead Medical Center. You see the word details there. If I want details, I can pull that up. It happens. There's not very much particularly useful information there, but were someone who had provided lots of information, it would all be located there. And remember the back arrow that I told you about? Touch that, and you're back to the main activity. Also, one of the things that we noted here is that when you go to one of these, and I'm going to take this unreinforced masonry, and actually give the details through the map. Let's come down here and pick out this unreinforced masonry building. And here's that listing to the details of it by clicking on the list item. And you'll note a couple of things. I'm located over here in El Monte or West Covina. That item of interest is here in Pomona. and it is indicated by the star, since there are a lot of them around there. I get a star on it, and I get driving directions to it. So if I'm about to go out and be the one who's in charge of responding to that, I get directions on how to go. Up here in the directions box at the top, button at the top, you can get written directions as well, so it will take you through that whole route. Pins with views. Do we have any of those here? No. Let me go to a different item of interest. And let's jump over to this one. I know it has some pins associated with it. You see the U's here. You see me all the way back here. Oh, we've got somebody else who showed up. Nope, that's still Ann. Who else is somebody else joined in over here? Oh, there's Tim. Tim, how you doing? So, the U's. The U shows that an update has been made. An observation update has been made, and there's more information about this particular item. If I click on that, just like the others, that doesn't have any useful information there. Okay. This is BTFC permanent facilities is what this update is about. Over there, I got an update with petroleum facilities that are located there. So those are updates that add more information to this particular item of interest. Below is where we see those observations. The observations take place with a blue list, and they also have a blue button over here. If I come over here to the liquefaction, I see it's provided by the California Resources Agency, not a whole lot more information there. What I'm most interested in about that particular observation, though, is this map display that I see over here in the right-hand corner. Click on that, and what I get are all the liquefaction zones provided by the California Geological Survey. All those liquefaction zones in here that allow me to overlay this information with when we were over here with these unreinforced masonry buildings. And I can see that while they might be unreinforced masonry buildings, they happen not to be in this liquefaction zone, so maybe I'm going to look out with those this time. So, items of interest have details. Details have observations associated with them. And observations have lots of different things that you can associate with them. Just giving you a quick look. Let's do this one. Oh, actually, this one didn't come up the last time I was doing it, so forget that. Something wrong with Google. Anyhow. Now, we've got all these items. Let's go back here. I've got all these different items of interest. I care about one. Let's say, as we are here, let's stick around with this one. Actually, no. I'm going to move myself. Now, this would be me driving. My GPS would be off there giving me some specific directions, and I would be going to visit one of these. I'm going to show you now how to do the set location, where I want to artificially move there. Very useful for an exercise. Might be useful because you've driven down this freeway and you see a lot of places over here that are burning. You're not going to have to go over there. You can say, I want to set my location to right over near those buildings rather than driving over there. And I'm now going to do a report that is artificially located back here where I am part of this Pomona issue here. And you see, all these red are now close to me. So I have an indication that these are ones that I might want to participate in. So I've now moved over here. And what I want to do to create an IOI, an item of interest, is go to this one that I'm close to. Click on it. Unreinforced masonry building. I'm going to go down there. Gives me directions to it. And I now have a right menu, a little pin up there. And from that right menu, I'm going to tell everybody else that I'm going to be involved in this one. So I do just by clicking checking. Tells me I'm now part of the team, And I, immediately, and everybody else who looks at that incident, see that Jim Morentz, down at the bottom here, is part of the team that's dealing with this one right now. So I begin to use that team functionality that I have, knowing where people are, sort of registering them in with things that they're doing, so that when I want to know who's doing what, I have a place to go. Later on, days from now, when I want to know, talk to the person who took that picture, I know who they were, and I'm able to understand a better relationship between people and incidents that are happening out there. So a check-in is the first thing that I do to be able to create an observation. Then there's an update button. You'll note up here, we go back to the right menu, the Make Update is there, and here I have my opportunity to give a little bit more information about this. So I'm going to say that is a 2-story building, minimal damage, and say there is a parapet that is someplace in there, nearby the front door or something. Okay, so I've now registered a little bit of information. So I can do more than that. I am on an Apple computer, or Apple iPod or iPad. When I click the camera, it gives me instant access to the camera. Same with the video. On the Android phones, what this does is give you access to select a picture that is going to allow you to have taken the picture, select the picture, and then upload that information. Same way with the video. Audio files, the same thing. So depending on the device you're using, it has either more or less integrated with it. And let's say that you're in a building that you have previously done an investigation of, some sort of an engineering study, or you're in a location where you know that there have been some seismic engineering studies done. You know the URL of that, or you're back at your office later, you can add the URL to that, and everybody will be able to pull that report up. So this observation can be as comprehensive as you can possibly make it. In this case, I'm going to take a chance that I can relatively quickly find a picture here. I'm just going to pick this one, and at least we'll have some picture associated with that and submit that information. The information has been there, my picture is there, and everybody now, at the same time, has that information shared to them, and we see we've got a 2-story building here with minimal damage. If I want to see whether there's more information, yes, there is a parapet that's nearby the front door. I can go back here, and let's take a look at the picture that's associated with it, and there's some guys in the tank. So, we're able to create that whole range of activities that you're out there doing every day, share them instantly out with lots of other people who are able to then help you by providing more information back about activities that are nearby and related to you. So that two-way flow of information is critical to the way the clearinghouse is dealing with the virtual clearinghouse today. All right, now, one more feature over here that we want to take a look at, this report button. It gives you special access to other assessment tools. If I come in here, I've got the clearinghouse field notes, and this was developed by U.S. Geological Survey in conjunction with the clearinghouse. And what it allows me to do is do more detailed investigations. It's associated in with SpotOnResponse, and we were in a building, weren't we? We're in an unreinforced masonry building. It transfers the latitude and longitude of that location over there, the building name over there, and I can now come over here and I can say that that was a masonry building. And the occupancy is commercial, and it is 2 stories there, 2 stories. We said, and we've got, what did I say, slight damage, and there's no need for further investigation. I record that information, and it goes off, and that is works its way through and eventually will be going from the USGS sources to the Unified Incident Command and thus shared out to everyone, and will eventually come on back here and become another item of interest. Each one of those takes it's out polling, so it's going to take a minute or two. So we can drive down further from the narrative and the pictures and the videos and all the rest of it down into more detailed analysis like the field notes, all of it becoming associated with a single unreinforced masonry building. And I should note that field notes, you saw that one was listed up there. If there are any other tools that you're using for more detailed analysis, we would be able to provide that information off to you. So, let's go off. See whether there are any questions at this point. Let's take a look at the layers, because I see we've got a couple of questions that have come up on the chat, and I'll address the last one because under this layers menu, the one up here in the upper left-hand corner, you've got a number of things. I can turn me on and off, I can change themes, I can do the icons, turn the updates on and off. Question there was about traffic. Yep, you want traffic on that route that you had over there. You're able to, there's my unreinforced masonry building, and I've got my traffic that's located right there, so I know. In fact, already today I've got a little bit of yellow traffic going on there, and in fact I don't want to go down that street, which I have to go, so maybe I'll go in a different direction to get there, because that area is red. So traffic integrated with that. Other layers associated with it, weather. These are individual weather stations selected so that you're able to see a quick look at specific weather information that at areas around what you're dealing with. And then going on, yes, okay. One note that here, in the profile, and I'm going to answer this other person's question on how you change the AOI as part of this. In the profile, which is up here under Tools, you see your area of interest, and if I want to turn that into 17 miles around me, I'll submit that, and you're going to see that I've gotten narrowed in here, and if I go back, everything else has disappeared. All my other icons, the earthquake fault and everything else, because I decided, hey, I'm not going to drive more than 17 miles at any given time, so this is what I'm concerned about. When you make a change in that profile, what you're doing is setting your preferences. So were I to leave that change as it were, every time I came back in and turned on my system, my preferences would be to have weather and go back to 175 miles. Weather and traffic would be turned on automatically. So that's where you set your preferences for all these different layers that you have there. When I turn on my system, if I want to have these things this way, you just go in, make your preference change, and it fixes your profile to allow you to have it specifically, the image look the way you want when it shows up. A couple of layers that I want to focus on. One of them is announcements. You see that one over here? What announcements do is they appear in blue at the top of your list I believe they're in time sequence order, so you get the most current ones first, and they are without regard to geography. Everything else in this application, the app, is based on it being mobile, you being out there and you carrying what's close to you. And again, everything detailed by distance down there in the little words at the bottom. So, I want to get an announcement out to everybody though. Well, that's what an announcement is. And when we talk about adding an item of interest, as we will in a minute, you'll see how you can add these announcements. So, announcement, key set of information that everybody should be sharing, and allows you to push it out to them all. Top of their list, everybody becomes quickly aware of it. Turn that one off, and move on. Now, another piece, filters. Filters up here, again, in this layer menu, allow us to limit the items of interest that are shown on the map. What you can do in here is enter any word that you want to enter. And what it's going to do is build this. So, first of all, I already have some words in here. I'm going to click on school. I only get the 2 schools that are there. Close that, and on here there are 2 schools out there, and that's all that is part. So I've eliminated all the clutter there, working only with schools. If I want to have schools and, I already have some reinforcement rebuildings. I don't remember anything else that was there. So let's, actually, let me turn that off. Let's go back and pick something that isn't up there already. Let's do landslides. There we go. I want to find that landslides. Simply enter it, add it, and all I get are landslides. If I want to add schools and landslides, I add the 2 of those. If I want to add traffic schools and their landslides, I get all my 0 traffic reports and my lots of traffic stops. Or we also have the Boolean not, as in all these things are not. So I now have everything but traffic, schools, and landslides. So I've got those things that are listed there. So you can do a very nice job of building your own look at what interests you as far as these items of interest. When we go into the exercise, you're going to, turning off all those things, you're going to perhaps want to go back and say, hey, listen, I just want to see what happened on Monday. And here are the items of interest that were created on Monday. Want to add the last Tuesday? Well, here I expand the list of them out on ones that were added on that date. I have to put in a sort of funny date at the present time to make it filter properly, but you'll be able to go off and create that date information if you want to. Then finally, if you want to get rid of landslides, you just click X and it's gone. So that's another way that we create these information layers that help you to be able to get as much detail as you need about a particular incident. All right, now, another way to deal with layers, and I'm going to come in here, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to move myself a little bit further down here so that I'm going to, always wanted to go to thermal, so let's go to thermal. And GIS layers. GIS layers are added, and they become part of the data that are associated with any of these items of interest. In this case, what we've done is added a lot into the 7.6 earthquake in the southern San Andreas Fault, and it's likely that this is the concept of information operations that we're going to be using for the exercise itself. Lots of different layers of information. And let's take a look at a couple of these. This one, aftershock forecast, since we're in the exercise, we're going to be following the aftershock. Actually, I'm going to do a different one here. Let me come off here and do these DPS facilities, because I want to give an illustration of it. Click on that, and you see suddenly we now have every toxic permitted facility in the state. And if I click on one of those, I found out that this is a safety claim with an operating permit, and it's a small storage site, that kind of information. So that's the information that comes out of the GIS from the Department of Toxic Substances. Now, let me play through a couple more of these, and then I'll come back over onto the instruction here, so that you're able to then take a look. So now we've overlaid the aftershock forecast on those toxic substances, and we see that aftershock might happen down here, and we've got a couple of toxic locations that, if they had been partially damaged in the current earthquake, maybe we want to pay a little bit more attention to, because there's a forecast of the upcoming earthquake. What else do we have here? Okay, these are the, you see the blue, these are aqueducts throughout the state, and it happens that this happens to be the one that is going to be of particular concern in the next earthquake, but you can also see that we probably have a good possibility in the earthquake that we have just experienced or simulating here of having some aqueduct problems. Clearly the fault right here not only goes right by the aqueduct, but it goes right by my schools there, so we may have flooded schools or some particular problem like that. So you see the way we're able, petroleum facilities, although, petroleum facilities, you'll note, are just in the San Francisco area. So that's going to center where your data shows up. And again, I've got the petroleum facilities up there as the little yellow icons, and here is the Shell Martinez facility. So, with all those things unfolding, let's take a look at what all of this means and how you, let's go back to the Los Angeles area here, how you, in fact, can use that information to become part of, actually, I'm going to clear all that stuff off here. And let's lay a couple more on the line. Come back here and let me grab these GPS facilities. Let's take those and bring those up again. And what I want to do now is I'm out there wandering around, and I have said, gee, I'm going to take a look. I'm going to take a look at this facility because I'm pretty close to it, so I'm going to head down here to this facility. So let's just say that I'm going to move myself down there now. I'm going to drive on down and end up somewhere over here just so that we can play that out. Okay, now we're all a little bit closer. I can more reasonably expect that from where I am, I'm going to go to this TTS facility that's nearby. So, again, your chances of actually doing this are only in the exercise, because in the real world you're going to be going to do this when you are driving by and have your GPS on, so you don't have to be moving around. So the concept there is that if, in fact, I want to say, you know what, I care about this. I see it smoldering, or I'm going to do an inspection. What I want to do is create an IOI there. And I create these items of interest where I am located. So if I were to create one, it would be right here, right now. So, in the real world, I'm going to be driving to this facility. My GPS is going to be on, and I am going to show up outside the gate there. And when I say, this is important, I want to create an item of interest, it's going to be as a result of me being there. In the exercise, you're going to artificially move to that location. So, if I want to artificially move to that location, I can look at the spot on the map and go over and click on that. Or I can come in here and I can say that I'm going to grab this information, the address. I'm going to go back here where I can enter my IOI. And as I said, if I knew where that was, I can wander over to it. But what I want to do is go to the IOI, I put my information, sorry, I got myself confused there, didn't I? Forget that. Sorry about that. Let's go back to the 7.6 earthquake. Forget all that. I didn't read my own instructions. Let's come back to my DTS facility. Let's say this is the one that I want to go to. And I don't know why I was wandering back to the other one. So, I would normally drive here, but now I want to artificially move there for the exercise. So what I want to do is go over here and say, set my location near there. Come over here to the lookup, and I have previously, if you saw me cut out the address, well, here's the address for this place. There's a little junk in here that I'm going to get rid of as I come by, but I'm going to get rid of the city where South Garvey Road. So I erased those two things that came over. It sets my latitude and longitude, moves me to where this red pin is, set location, and if I were to come back here and hit this GPS permitted facilities and come back to where I am, I'm going to find, where am I? I'm going to find that I'm right at the gate of that ETS permitted facility there. So now, sorry about that. So now, I've set my location, I've gotten to that facility, and it's now time for me to actually create an item of interest. I'm right here, outside the facility. I'm going to go back. I'm going to create my item of interest. I'm going to say that this is an incident. It's a building structure. The subject is the safety, clean by damage, smoldering, and doing this from about 500 yards away, and there is damage and a small fire. Okay. Reason, I'm going to call it a earthquake. UAP and disposition observation. Those are terms that I just threw in there. The clearinghouse, as this evolves, will start to develop consistent terminology for each of you to be able to share information so it's meaningful back and forth. Submit that one. I've been successful. It's there. And what I then have is all of the information that I just added there as part of that customized and didn't show up. I'm going to make it show up. If it didn't show up. Well, that's interesting. Okay. That might sync up for a long period of time, so we may have not to see that. Okay. So, why don't we pause there for questions? Come back to my big picture here and say questions, comments, thoughts, and then we'll go in and look at a couple of use cases. Somebody actually asked the question. They said there are petroleum facilities in Torrance and Long Beach. Why didn't they show? Because that data, and this is the way the data should be prepared in real time, says we've got an earthquake. This is the area, and actually I'm going to show you how we do this. This is the area where the earthquake is. I really don't want to see all the items all over the state. I want to see the ones that are related to the earthquake. So, what those were provided in planning for the next earthquake, which is up in Northern California, out of the whole section of ones that were part of the whole country, or the whole state rather. The reason we want to do this is as follows. We have this vulnerable facilities here. If I display that, what you're going to see done is instead of having all the vulnerable facilities all across the state, what I have is the vulnerable facilities that, using this earthquake fault that came out of the state map, they create a 10-mile buffer zone about that and are able to bring up these critical facilities. That's a dam. Over here is, what's that? We got a hospital there. Yeah, we got some hospitals there. All the information out of the Homeland Security Infrastructure Protection. There's a hazmat site. That's a Perfection Plating Company is right there. So this is really the way we want to deal with those static layers of GIS data. I want to know what's valuable to me. Again, geography, space, and relationships are so critically important. So this project that was done with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory takes the earthquake fault that is provided by USGS, stored in UICDS. The earthquake fault is used by NASA JPL to create this query to return only the information that's associated with that 10-mile buffer zone around the earthquake. That's what we did manually with the petroleum sites that you mentioned. For the next earthquake, where we're dealing with this earthquake, they would be showing up down around here. So, yes, please. Oh, really? Oh. Really? Okay. Am I there still? Okay. I'll trust you on that one. Okay. So, where do we go from there? We've got a few, actually, okay. What if my AOI is the Bay Area, although in Southern California? What we do is, that's what you do on the set location. You come up here, if I say San Francisco, look that up, set my location, and my area of interest is now there, and you see we've got some tsunami incidents that are floating around, problem at the Asian Art Museum and other places like that. So that's how you set an area of interest. In this case, it is 175 miles from the location where I am centered. That's also important if I'm driving. I'm heading from one place to the other. My area of interest is going to change with me if I have my GPS on. If I'm going to be located at home in San Jose, but I'm going to follow what's happening in San Francisco, then I do the artificial set location and leave myself in San Francisco overnight when I'm home in San Jose. So let's see, what else do we have? So we take a look at some use cases. Actually, let me go back to Los Angeles. Yes. Yes. We, as a matter of fact, may, for some reason the USGS site's been a little hairy on shape maps. But if I come in here and I believe it is this, and it's still hairy. Yeah. But yes, shape map, no, I was the aftershock, sorry. The shape maps are available, and this is using a Google Maps background, so the data principally has to be in the KML format. Shape maps are in KML format, so they're easy to acquire and produce. It happens that the hosting site for them has been a little strange over the last couple of weeks, so sometimes we've missed them, as I missed today. But yes, is that answer? Sure. Other questions? All right, well, let's talk through a couple of use cases. You're someplace, and actually, let me move over here. I'm okay there. I'm here. I feel the earth shake. I think something's happening, and what I decide I want to do is report on that. Actually, so we don't get all cluttered over here. I'm going to set my location just over there somewhere. So, I'm over here and I feel shaking. I say, geez, there's something going on here. I want to share. I'm looking out the window and I am saying, okay, I'm sitting here and I'm looking outside and I see a structural damage and looking at small building falling. All right, I submit that. I've got some success associated with it. And I have now contributed that information. And by dozens or hundreds or however many of clearinghouse members who are able to provide that information right after the earthquake, we have a look outside and say traffic stopped over here, to say there's rubble on the street here. We begin to get a really fast human sensor picture of what's unfolding in the earthquake. So that's one use case, is where people are contributing immediately by being able to say, hey, here are things that are right around me. Let's see, what else? Over here, we got a couple other use cases. We just talked them through. You felt the earth shake, and you've entered that IOI. You then go off and you do the items of interest. You come over here and you say, yep, I in fact do want to add an update to this, and we've got small bus stranded, and I've got more information to follow, or something like that. And you get the idea. Submit that one, and now I'm continuing to add information to this structure problem with a small building that's falling and a small bus stranded, so people are gathering and collecting more information about the particular problem that I'm dealing with. Mention text, video, all sorts of other things. You hear that an earthquake took place. Well, heck, I ought to be logging on to SpotOnResponse, seeing this scene and saying, well, I'm in fact, as somebody just said, I'm in Northern California or Southern California. Well, let me see what's happening. I'm able to discover that Anne's headed out to the scene, and that we've got traffic sensors are stopped over there, and some other traffic sensors stopped over there, and City Hall appears to be damaged. I, from a distance, am able to gather up